Hi, I hope you've had an amazing week. Welcome to the premiere of the show Unscripted with me, Gracie Salame. Here is where we share your story as openly and honestly as we can, with the purpose of shifting the culture of silence. Now today we talk about divorce, a much dreaded word, but very common in our generation. So today we have a sit down with two gentlemen who are brave enough to share their experience with us.
Meet Marcus Olang, an avid storyteller through his writing and his photography, who believes that every one of us has a story we've lived, a story that we've been conditioned to either minimize or hide. Which is why he runs Courage Stories, a platform through which people share their stories and how they continue to make bold, courageous steps in their everyday lives. Meet Amani Maranga, a managing director and founder of 360 Degrees, a communications agency in Kenya, with a background in advertising and also a TV host, MC, and motivational speaker, with a podcast he calls Living Truthfully, which led to this conversation today. Now, these two gentlemen have one thing in common, and today, Amani not only welcomes us into his home, but they both open up their hearts.
Why did I get married? Oof, that's a heavy one. I loved her. That is something that I don't ever deny. I don't ever take away from anything and everything that happened. But I loved her very deeply. And at that point in time, it was a type of love that made me afraid to lose her. And so I felt that marriage would be the right next step at that particular point in time.
I got married to the lady I was seeing, who was also the mother of my child and my firstborn daughter. I surely did not want my child to grow up not knowing her father, and so I felt I had no choice, and so I did the honorable thing, and I got married.
Today we're discussing divorce. We're trying to unpack it as best as we can. And with me is Amani and Marcus. Thank you for coming on board today. So Marcus, you're telling us about your coping mechanism. Alcohol was involved and then exercise.
Yes. When I realized that alcohol abuse is a real thing that I was quickly falling into, started working out. Had an amazing trainer who was also incidentally, I think, part of my therapy as well, because he's an amazing listener as well. But then that also brought alive the need for therapy. So I went for weekly therapy sessions as well for a while, just to unpack what I was feeling. So on one end, it's the physical, raw anger, frustration that I'm processing in the workouts, and then now unpack why did all this happen.
I see.
But what helped for me was at least there wasn't all that much to separate, because we don't have children in the picture, which is a whole other story. 'Cause man,
Say that again.
How did you both prepare them before you made the decision?
We tried. My daughter was 7, my son was 5. So they were pretty young. And we tried to have the conversation with them and, tell them, mommy and daddy, have some, disagreements. And, so for now, daddy will be staying somewhere else. And, we tried to have that conversation as civilly as possible. I don't know if that's a word. Mm-hmm. The kids didn't understand it.
Because they see daddy every day.
Yeah.
And now you're saying we won't see him.
And they said over and over again, come back home. And nothing broke my heart as much as that, as the kids begging you to go back home. I moved out in May, and so in that school term, they're very brilliant children. My children have their mother's brain, which is a blessing because that's what I prayed for. The teachers could tell something was wrong. And going to school and hearing how they had withdrawn, my son had just, gone into a cocoon. I mean, it broke me. Because what it's saying is that your decisions, your choices are messing up their lives. Yeah?
Did you think twice in that moment for maybe we should try and work this out?
So I was very clear that, doing it for the children is not always a good reason. Unlike Marcus, I'd never been in depression. I'd never seen it around me, so I didn't know what it looked like. And so for me, I was slipping into this space without knowing it. Until one day, by this time I've almost run down my business, literally run down my business. I have 1 out of 12 employees left. And the guy used to, by that time this was my office before I became home, and so he'd come every day. This guy was faithful. He's like, I don't care if there's a salary or not, I'm not leaving this guy by himself. So he'd come every day. And one day I told the guy, I've lost my mojo. That's what it felt like to me. I've lost my mojo, so I don't know. And then I thought, okay, I might need to talk to someone. And since we had sent our kids to a therapist,
Good job.
because we realized that they needed to process this, and we were ill-equipped, so we had sent them to a therapist. I went and saw the same therapist because I felt like she had at least some context and some history. Yeah. One of my pastors actually reached out to me and asked me, why are you not in church? And I'm like, but you know my story and I don't want to be in church. She said, come, sit at the corner, do nothing. Also, I didn't want to have to, I serve in church, and I didn't want to have to do things and pretend that everything was okay. And she told me, come sit at the corner, don't stand if you don't want to, just be in a place you hear the right things. And I enjoyed the social space because there was people I knew. They didn't know what was going on in my world, but I was happy to just have a laugh, crack a joke, like why was Barry White black? Ha ha ha. Anyway, so so that sort of got me. I found myself now waking up to go to church on Sunday, and it was very therapeutic for me. And I found a very accepting community, and even when people knew that I was divorced or I was going through a separation, what I got from them was not judgment. Well, there was a little judgment, but I think it's that thing of understanding, but why, what could you have done differently? And I don't blame them, My family was, I think, mostly supportive and disappointed. But for the most part, I got support from my family. And so,
I like that you brought up and mentioned judgment. There's something you said in the podcast. Men don't have the right to feel pain. So for me, for some reason, that feedback that you got broke me. Because does that mean as society, have we blamed the men when marriages fail? Is that what you feel?
Oh, yes.
I would say yes. I would actually, yeah.
No, without fear of failure.
Really?
Yeah.
There's no equal balance.
There's no, okay, let's say your point of view does not exist.
We all know for our children, their parents are their heroes.
Yes.
Daddy's everything, and equally so is mommy. How did that change for you after the divorce, your relationship with your children?
To be honest, I think it changed for the better.
Oh, that's good. Wow.
There's a common saying that is used when people talk about how you don't realize the value of something until you lose it. And for me, the thought of losing my children, I was not in danger of losing my children, and we were not fighting for custody, or we had happily agreed that we'd both be in the children's lives. But you still have this energy around you that
Because they're not in your space
they're
all
not
the
in my
time, so you
space all
still
the time.
feel like...
So I think I overcompensated as a dad, and did everything I could to just make them know that they're loved, that I haven't left their lives. I may not be in their physical space. I'd probe and try and understand where their mind is at, and that broke me over and over again, hearing what they're thinking. But with time, that turned. And I think they were able to, I really hope they're able to understand that, Daddy loves them, Daddy's there, he's accessible and available for them. They spend nights and weekends here. So, I mean, in their lives, we have a lone father and son time with my boy. We have date nights with them, both of them. So I'm involved in their lives completely. I think there's always room to do more, for sure, but,
The reason I ask this is because, when you get into a marriage, it's the two of you.
Yeah.
And you may have your issues and not want to talk to each other ever again. But once children are in the picture, as hard as it is, they should never have to pay for it. Yes, it wouldn't be perfect, smooth sailing journey, but it's more intentional on our part. Yeah?
I'm not fooled that this will affect them. But I'm hoping that, by my presence and both of us just co-parenting well, they can mitigate how far they get affected by our, living apart and, getting out of the marriage. So I really just hope. I know they'll one day have the conversation, my parents, separated when I was this age and blah, blah, blah. But I hope the ending of that story is that my dad was always there for me, my mom was always there for me, and I never felt like I didn't have any of my parents. I hope that...
Oh, I had to choose.
Yeah, or I had to choose. I hope that is how that story ends.
I love that. To those at home, guys, who may be going through a similar experience, don't know what to do, feeling stuck, they're men and they will not tell anyone, and they'll carry it. What would you tell them as we wrap?
I think I'd draw it out of my own experience. Don't die alone. Don't die alone. The fact is that there are so many of us who are quietly giving up on life itself, and we oftentimes, unfortunately, give up on life well before we leave. And it's often a factor of all these different things that are happening in our lives. The one thing I do know is that in each and every man there is strength, without a doubt. In each and every human there is strength. What I would challenge us to do is that let our expression of strength not be how much we can carry alone, but how much we can share with others. Because there is a certain level of strength and courage that is needed to trust you as my fellow man. Let's have that strength, that courage to be able to, one, reach out and say, hey, Amani, I'm in the dogs, man. I don't understand what is happening. And I haven't figured it out yet. And that you also are fine with that and just sit and say, okay, if you need silence for now, we'll be in silence. If you need us to figure it out together, we'll figure it out together. But let's extend that strength to mean a strength to share as well.
Amen to that. Thank you.
I like that. It's very wise. You must own your choices. So here's the thing that I keep hearing, and since I started the podcast, I've had a lot of people come and share their stories with me about their struggles in their marriage. But what I hear is a lot of blame. I hear a lot of blame for the other person. This is what that other person is doing. Listen, you cannot change any human being. Okay, only God has the power to change people. One of my pastors once preached a sermon about marriage, and he said, work on me, pray for them. And for me, that's what I want to tell people, man. Whether you're in a difficult marriage, in a difficult relationship, or you're already out, you've already made the decision to leave, whatever it is, take responsibility for your own set of actions. Own your choices. Own your space. Don't stop blaming the other person, even if they are the catalyst. Because the only way to heal and to move forward is if you can work on the things that only you can do.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Amani, for opening up your home.
Welcome.
Opening up your heart, your soul, your story, both of you. I commend you. And hope to the men at home watching, this will be a starting point for you. Like we said, I'm going to end with this quote. Let our expression of strength not be how much we carry alone, but how much we can carry each other together. And that's what Unscripted is all about. Breaking the silence, carrying the load together for a better tomorrow for each of us. Thank you so much for watching. This is Unscripted with me, Grace, on NTV. Goodbye. No.